Let's talk about something we all see every day but rarely stop to listen to. Your skin. Your face isn't just a mirror reflecting your emotions. It's a living document of your life. Every wrinkle, puffiness under the eyes, tension in the jaw, they all have meaning. And if you know how to read them, they can tell you a lot about what's going on underneath the skin. When I share Ecology in Motion Gua sha, I teach people not just how to work with a face, but how to understand it. Because when you start looking at the body like an ecosystem, everything starts to make sense. Think of your face like a weather map. Your forehead might show signs of mental strain, like storm clouds before a great big downpour. Your cheeks might reflect digestive patterns, much like the color of leaves might tell us the state of the soil beneath. And the lips, they're like the riverbanks that have become dry and cracked. It could mean that there's a drought happening deeper inside. Now, this isn't about diagnosing illness or predicting the future. It's about awareness. When you start seeing the face as part of a larger system, connected to your breath, to your digestion, to your sleep, you begin to treat it differently. I've had people, they come to me and they're saying, I want to get rid of these lines. And I ask them, what do you think these lines are trying to say? Often the answer has absolutely nothing to do with age and everything to do with stress, dehydration, or emotional holding patterns. Take frown lines, for example. Most people assume that they're just making an expression too often, but in reality, they can indicate chronic tension, especially in the frontalis muscle, which is often linked to overthinking, anxiety, but also structural things happening in your neck and your back. So instead of just trying to erase the line which is sitting there on your forehead, maybe we should ask why that muscle is tight in the first place. And here is where Gua sha comes in. It's not a magic eraser, it's a translator. When you use Gua sha with a certain intention, you're not just moving liquid around the body, or you're not just lifting tissue like magic. You're inviting the body to communicate. For example, that subtle warmth that you're feeling underneath the skin, that's circulation waking up when you do Gua sha. And the slight redness which is coming before that redness of sha comes, that's micro obstructions being resolved. And then when the dark red dots that might appear after Gua sha, that's major changes happening in the tissue, but also the result will also be further into the body. One of my favorite things about teaching Gua sha is the way that people start to feel more connected to themselves when they do it, or when they, not just when they do it on themselves, when they do it on other people. So instead of chasing youth or perfection, and good luck with that one, they learn to read their own signals. And once you can do that, you don't need someone else to constantly tell you how to fix yourself. You kind of know yourself. So the next time you look into the mirror, try asking a question. What do you need today? Then let your hands answer with care, curiosity, and a little bit of Gua sha. But let's go a little bit deeper. When we talk about reading the skin, we're also talking about micro expressions, those tiny involuntary movements that reveal more than we realize. A twitch near the eye might signal fatigue or a nervous system overload, or a dull complexion may point to sluggish liver function or poor nutrient absorption. These aren't just cosmetic concerns, they're clues. In traditional Chinese medicine, the face is mapped according to internal organs. But in Ecology in Motion, which is based on the classical idea of Chinese medicine, I prefer to see through the lens of natural landscapes. The nose, for example, is the mountain peak of the face, where blood flow and energy all converge. And if it's red or congested, it might be that there's heat rising, specifically from your lungs, because there's a direct connection between that area and your lungs. The area between your eyebrows, which is known as the third eye in many traditions, ecologically speaking, it's like a convergent zone where thoughts and emotions and physical sensations meet. Chronic tension here can indicate overactive thinking or unresolved emotional burdens. But it's also the complete convergence of all these rivers, and these rivers are actually blood vessels, and these are all meeting in that area. So basically, a whole lot of things that might be happening inside the body, they might be reflecting right here. It's not just a local thing happening in your face. Even acne, for example, tells a story. So breakouts along the jawline, which often relate to hormonal shifts, especially around menstruation or menopause, and these lie in the stomach river system. And the stomach river system is not some magical thing that I'm throwing out there. It's just the blood vessel system, which is categorized by the ancient Chinese within the patterns of a river system, exactly like we would have outside in our environment. And so there's nothing amazing or magical about what the Chinese had to say. So forehead breakouts with acne, they can reflect digestive imbalances or poor circulation in the bladder river. It's another river which is actually going all the way down your back and coming down to the back of your legs to your feet. And what about if you've got breakouts on your cheek area? And they're often tied to, or depending where, maybe the lung function or digestion, and also environmental exposure to pollution and dust and seasonal allergies. And this kind of understanding transforms our approach to skincare from an external treatment to an internal treatment. And this kind of understanding transforms our approach to skincare from external treatment to internal listening. Gua sha becomes a tool not just for beauty, but for self-awareness. Each gua sha scrape, because it's a scrape, not a stroke, is a question. Each pause is a moment to notice sensation. Each session becomes a dialogue between the practitioner and the body. Well, in fact, it's a bit of a dance. And it's a conversation that reveals layers of information far beyond what any cream or serum could ever address. It's not uncommon for people to experience emotional release during gua sha sessions. There'll be a wave of sadness, a sudden memory, a deep exhale that feels like the release of years of tension. This is because the fascia, the connective tissue beneath the skin, it's almost like a storage site for unprocessed emotion, which when I explain it in detail, it makes a lot of sense. It's just like when the body protects itself, and it protects itself by protecting things that might damage it. And so unexpressed emotion becomes almost a physical thing which is stored in tissue, and over time becomes almost like an obstruction in the tissue. So when we scrape with skill and with presence, we invite the body to soften the grip on old stories. We allow space for new stories to emerge. So this is healing in its most authentic form. There are many instances, and I remember one person who came to my clinic in Barcelona, and she'd been struggling with persistent tension, headaches, couldn't figure out why. And during her first facial gua sha session, she began to cry, not because anything hurt, but because she suddenly felt a weight lift off her shoulders. So that was the moment she realized how she'd been carrying this emotional armor, which was actually sitting in her face all these years. So healing doesn't always happen in dramatic ways like that. Sometimes it's quiet, it's subtle. It's the first rain after a long drought. So how can you start listening to your face? Well, you begin by observing without judgment. You look at your reflection with curiosity rather than criticism. And you ask yourself, where do I hold the tension in my face? And how, well, actually not just your face, in your body too. How does my face change with my mood? What happens to my skin when I'm stressed versus when I'm relaxed? Then you bring your hands into the conversation. You use your gua sha tool with gentle or maybe slightly stronger pressure, depending on where you're treating on the body. Gentle on the face, but you're not exactly going to be gentle on the kind of tight muscles which are holding things and preventing that circulation from reaching your face. So for example, your neck and your shoulders. You don't need to be so gentle there. And this is where the red marks of gua sha might appear, but they're actually a good thing. And you use your gua sha tool and you notice how your skin responds. Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it dry? Is it oily? Is it sensitive? These are all indications of internal states, not external situations on your skin. Now, because when you learn to hear what your skin is saying, you begin to heal in ways that go far beyond the surface. And that ultimately is what I teach, Ecology in Motion Gua sha, and looking at the ecological landscape of your body. That's what this is all about. It's a form of healing on a very special level. So I hope you enjoyed this message from the heart. And if you want to listen to more stuff that I talk about, then you'll find lots of podcasts and lots of information on komorebiinstitute.com. And this is where all of my teaching information is, and links to all kinds of stuff. And there are paid courses there. You can come and take a live class with me about gua sha, maybe on the face or maybe health and wellness. There's online classes, but there's also a lot of free stuff, you know, so it's not the case of I want your money and I'm going to sell you a tool. It's not like that. I have a vision about what gua sha is, which is based on the whole world, and you'll find me appearing in different countries around the world. And I have a project in Sri Lanka, and I just see that the gua sha is revolutionary in its ideas. And let's just try and change whatever we can in whatever little piece of the world we can. And that's really my message. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon.